The guy walks at night, eats, and then he is knocked down by a man in a sack. And then, with all his power, he hits the metal mesh of the fence. Our main character works in an auto repair shop. One day, the boss offers him a drink, but our hero refuses because he is still young. At the end of the shift, the boss shows him a photo of his sister and invites him to go on a date with her. For this, he will also give his car a ride. The guy agrees. After changing glasses for lenses, he comes to the specified address. In a dingy, shabby building, he sees the boss pumping up a sack with something, but the sack is not simple, but with legs. And he sews something else at the same time. My sister Hagain, he introduces. Like other girls at such moments, the boys have to wait, but then she comes out, leggy, in a miniskirt, in red shoes, and still with a sack above the waist. The guy is confused. It's clearly not the one that was in the photo, but the boss is harsh and only runs into the kid so that he closely follows his sister. The guy and the sack are driving in the car. A grasshopper comes out of it. At first, after thinking about it, the kid opens the car door and the sack starts running away with all its legs. But he didn't even have to catch up because she crashed into the bikes and fell down the hill. The sack was clearly offended and went about his business and sat down on a bench. Our hero is interested in why a girl needs a sack, but he only annoys her. Having gone on the run again, the bad girl gets into trouble again, more precisely, falls into the river and floats limply with the flow. The legs from the sack also pulls the guy into the water and rejoices violently about it. Unfortunately, only garbage sacks were found at the kid's house for dressing up. Suddenly finding himself in a novelistic setting, Hagain begins to pester the boy with his foot in the face, and then completely crushes him until he bled from the nose. The sack clearly wants to get to know the guy better. She writes some more with blood on the window. Our hero attacked the sack, but a knot prevents him from passing to the next phase. When trying to untie it, a strange-looking flesh fell out of the sack, which caused the creature to completely lose her temper and began to destroy the room. Breaking down the door, she went outside and returned to her brother. At night, his boss calls him and informs him that Hagain liked him very much. And the boss himself washes the sack in the shower, and then takes it and hits it with a huge bath brush. The next day, the boy didn't want to work, but went for a walk. He looked into some sacks, in case there is someone there too. And then he saw Hagain's face on the advertising poster. He was clearly deceived, and then a dart flies into his hand. This is definitely a girl in a sack. She was hiding behind a bush. The guy tries to escape, but the sack continues to conduct targeted fire. He have to fight back, and the guy grabs a stick and starts hitting the sack. But the sack is not weak, a blade got out of it and cut the guy. The sack writes some more, with blood again, but the guy is tired of it all. He takes a boulder and throws it on top of the sack, and then finishes it off with a metal pipe. At night, the boss comes to the boy's house and asks him to return to work. The guy hides and doesn't open the door. When he goes outside, he sees her and she clearly doesn't feel very well. The sack almost falls off the cliff, but the guy manages to pick it up, and then he lets her go anyway. The sack fell from a height, but after some time, she finds the guy and runs straight at him. The guy falls to his knees and asks for forgiveness, but not only her legs, but also her hands are already sticking out of the bag. Hagain is crying and they are hugging. It seems they have reconciled. And then the creature begins to tear its sack. The guy is sucked inside the sack and he screams in pain. With difficulty, he manages to free himself. His whole face is wet and in small cuts. The sack crawls up to him and shows him what's inside, then swallows the guy and begins to digest him. The brother finds his Hagain when she is already sucking her leg, the last part. The sack cries sitting on the sidelines while the man burns all the things of his eaten worker on the bonfire. But it's time to move on and the life of Hagain and her brother is back on a track.